Hey, everybody, this is Maxine Taylor, and I have the astrological forecast for September 2022. And I'm going to go into it in a second. I'm also, little heads up, I'm going to be looking forward beyond September for some more information to share with you. Some of you have been saying, when is your Take Back Your Money book going to be up on Amazon? Anytime now. We're at the very, very end of editing. And so it should be very soon. If you are on my personal mailing list, you will know because I'm going to send out an announcement. If you're not on my mailing list, please feel free to go to MaxineTaylor.com and sign up for it. It's free of charge. And on it, I announce my virtual full moon ceremonies and anything pertaining to what I'm doing that I think you might be interested in. So, okay. Now let's talk about the United States chart for September. And remember, those of you who are students of astrology, the houses in a mundane chart are a little bit different than in your own birth chart. So what I'm going to do, because there are so many of you who are astrology students, I will describe the house to you. Okay. I do this all the time because more and more people are studying astrology and they want a little more in-depth information. All righty. So let's talk, first of all, about the sun, the giver of life. Wherever it is in your chart or in a country's chart, that is the area that is the focal point, the big focal point for whatever time it's in a particular house. Well, it has been in our fourth house of real estate, of well, the Democrats. It's the party out of power. I'm just going to read the mundane interpretations. I could give them to you, but I want to make sure I cover everything and I don't want to leave anything out. The fourth house rules the party out of power. So that would be the Democrat, the Republicans. Did I say the Democrats? I meant the Republicans. Deals with domestic affairs. It deals with weather. I don't have to tell you about that. It deals with the land itself, with farmers, with builders, with crops, and with seniors. So the sun has been sitting in our fourth house. And as a result, a lot of energy and attention has been placed on that fourth house. Now, on the 6th of September, which is just a few days from now, the sun will enter our fifth house. Now, in a natal chart, a birth chart, for a person, the fifth house is fun and games. It deals with children. And of course, this house does deal with children in a mundane chart, simply because with we have Roe v. Wade that we have talked about for a while. We have issues relating to children, to the birth rate, to everything relating to children. All right. You know. So on the 15th, the sun sits on Neptune in that fifth house. And let me once again read the details of the fifth house. Children, fun, sports, gambling, theaters, the birth rate, congressional and public hearings, and stadiums and teachers, actually. Now, Neptune is the planet of either escapism or the dream come true. It can be confusion. And so when we're dealing with public hearings, for example, there can be a good bit of confusion. There's a certain amount of wishful thinking when it comes to many of these committee meetings. Can you tell Mercury's getting ready to go retrograde? My lips are not cooperating. And so there is a certain amount of, oh, I hope, with the sun sitting on Neptune. In a natal chart, it can be escapism. Neptune deals with drugs, alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, everything we use to escape. And so there can be more emphasis on that. The sun, however, the center of our solar system, the giver of life, is actually a blessing because it opens up that area of life. So in particular, with hearings, I'm very hopeful about the outcome of hearings and about anything relating to our children. Also, the vaccine any type of vaccine would be Neptune. All right, so that's the sun. Now we have a new moon and a full moon. The full moon is on the 10th in 17 Pisces 1741 Pisces. Look in your birth chart and see where 17 Pisces falls, because that is the area where things come to a head. So once again, let me read the mundane interpretation of the 11th house. Congress. All right, we could stop right here. Congress, congressmen, congresswomen, congresspeople, legislation, the treasury. It deals with city councils, county councils. It deals with friends in a birth chart. And this deals then with our friends, our allies, that type of thing. And so things in that arena, which is the humanitarian arena in a birth chart, come to a head to be dealt with. And so this is terrific because it can bring things to a head. Now, for 2 weeks after the full moon, the moon wanes. And just before the new moon, when energy starts picking up again, things are very, very slow. There's no energy. The moon rules function and form. So nothing's functioning, nothing's forming, nothing's happening until the new moon on the 25th, which once again is in that 5th house. And it's in 2 Libra 49, 2 degrees of Libra, 49 minutes. And so this resurrects fun. It can be movies, it can be theater, it can be sports. Of course, sports are such a terrific outlet. During the early pandemic stage, we missed sports, and now we're just ready to party. We're ready to have fun. So that's where the new moon is. And once again, we're dealing with the birth rate. We're dealing with children. We're dealing with gambling, movies, and public hearings. All right. So that's the sun. All right. Now, I'm going to talk about Venus and Mars. By the way, for those of you who study astrology, I think you know I use tropical Placidian, and the chart that I use for the United States is the 7 Gemini chart with Uranus on the ascendant in 8 Gemini. Okay. I'm going to start with Mars. Mars is the planet of war. It's passion. It's number 1 to us, wherever it is in the chart at a given moment. That's what we fight with and fight for. Okay, right now, from the 1st until the 5th, transiting Mars is sitting on the ascendant and Uranus. Mars on Uranus is explosive. And the first house in a mundane chart deals with the mood of the people. So there's going to be a certain amount of anger, explosiveness, the entire time that Mars is in the first house, which it will be until October 3rd. Well, actually, it will probably be in that first house longer, but it's going to sit on our natal Mars. So you have the orbiting Mars, which in astrology is called the transiting Mars, sitting on Mars in our birth chart. There's going to be, oh, there can be. What was that song when I was a kid? Feuding, fighting, and fussing. I'm being very tactful. Have you noticed? So starting right now, the entire tone of our country is me first. And this is, I'm sure this is because there are so many people who are not concerned with the country, but with what's in it for them. And of course, we have a lot of information that is coming forward from the former president and the papers that the private papers that belong to the United States government, which have been scattered around his house, as well as the attitude of the public. So it's the political mood, it's public health. And so with Mars in the first house, especially on Uranus, that's rebellion. And sometimes rebellion can be a good thing. Now, I'm not talking about an insurrection. That's different. That there's rebellion involved, but when I say rebellion can be a positive thing, I'm thinking about the way our wonderful United States of America came about, all right? So there was a rebellion, and we have this wonderful republic that we love. And so there's a great deal of energy on it, great deal of energy, me first, from the people. So let's look at Venus now, because if Mars is anger and passion and war and what you fight with and fight for, we're fighting for ourselves. And there are people who are simply rebelling for the sake of rebelling, period, bottom line. That's just what's up. So let's talk about Venus, the planet of love and beauty and happiness. It's one of the good guys. Jupiter and Venus are the two benefics. And so I'll talk about Jupiter in just a second. But here we have Venus in the 4th house of the United States chart. And wherever Venus is, there is love. There is a positive attitude, and it deals with real estate in the 4th house. So we're talking real estate, the party out of power, which means that Venus is blessing the Republican Party, is bringing a certain amount of good vibes to the party, to the Republican Party. And there are people in both parties, of course, that want peace, want happiness, health, abundance, They're not looking for war. They're not looking to kill each other. So Venus in that fourth house will be with us till the 15th when it moves into the fifth house. Have you noticed fourth and fifth houses are very important this month? And once again, when you've got Venus, the planet of love and happiness and money and art and beauty, we're talking, once again, this list: children, fun, sports, gambling, theaters, the birth rate, congressional and public hearings. And so there is an element of love and cooperation and a positive attitude when it comes to all of those things. And of course, public hearings, congressional public hearings. Now, Neptune is wishful thinking or the dream come true. Neptune rules liquids and gases, alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, drugs, can be medicinal or recreational. On the 23rd, Venus sits on Neptune, and that is one of the loveliest conjunctions, I think, that you can experience, because there can be the dream come true. I don't know what's going to be going on the 23rd, but the feeling will be a loving feeling for, now, there are people who refuse to love. I know that. There are people who just want to fight. I know that. There are people like that everywhere, but I'm talking about the entire country, and it looks quite beautiful. So with public hearings, especially public hearings and congressional hearings, this can be a very positive sign. I love that. All right, we've covered these two. Now, let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is going retrograde, depending on which ephemeris you use, either on the 9th or the 10th. But when Mercury goes retrograde, everything is confused and it's unsettled. And Mercury's in the fifth house. I won't go over that list again. But what we think about and talk about, that's Mercury. And Mercury is our conscious mind. Neptune is the spiritual side of things. And with Mercury sitting very close to Neptune, it's within 2 degrees. It's 2 degrees beyond exact with Neptune. There can be talk about hopes and wishes and just really some lovely conversations. This is from September 29th through October 4th. I know I went into October. That's okay. Now, Jupiter, the greater benefic, is sitting in our 11th house. So you might be saying 11th house. What are we talking about? 11th house. Okay. The greater benefic. Hang on here. I'm looking for another sheet. Here it is. The greater benefic is retrograde, which means it's not expressing itself as completely, as magnificently as it will when it goes direct. But it's still in the 11th house of Congress, Congress people, the Treasury, city and county councils, and our country's friends. Also, this means that there can be bipartisan participation if the people involved want it. I love that. All right. Now, got some information that I want to share with you all that is beyond September. And I'm pretty much just going to do the conjunctions, all right? Just the house placement. I have been mentioning each month that with Saturn, the planet of reality, the planet of strength, the builder, with Saturn on the United States midheaven, and the midheaven is the cusp of the 10th house. The 10th house is our public image. It's where we are in the world. It rules the president and the party in power. So that would be the Democratic Party. And so when I saw that Saturn was approaching the moon, I saw this back a couple of months ago. I said, President Biden is going to get tough. He's going to get strong. And he has. He's just calling the shots like he sees them. And his ratings have improved. So our public image, the United States public image, is one of strength right now. And responsibility. Saturn very often gets a bad rap in astrological circles because it's fear and restriction and the old, that type of thing. I have found that Saturn is the planet of responsibility. And my definition of that is respond to your ability as a leader. And that is what the president is doing. Okay, that's number one. I'm going to go over here to Uranus. Uranus is the rebel. Uranus is the great awakener. Now, it has been and will continue to be in the 12th house of hidden enemies, jails, hospitals. It's all behind the scenes activities. It deals with electronics. Uranus deals with electronics. The 12th house. Here are the definitions, the descriptions of the 12th house: bribery, spies, hidden enemies. That's what's going on. Prisons, jails, hospitals, criminals, charitable institutions. I love that. Seclusion, secret societies, and welfare. Uranus in that 12th house is squaring the moon and the midheaven. So these are hidden enemies that are trying to take down the president and the Democratic Party. I mean, it's just straight astrology. Uranus, rebellion, in the 12th house of spies and behind the scenes enemies, squaring our public image. And because it's hidden, that's all the information I can give you. Okay. Neptune is going to be in the 11th house till the end of the year. And this can be a dream come true. Remember, the 11th house deals with Congress and congressional councils and friends. And so there's a certain amount of wishful thinking. There can also be a certain amount of obfuscation. Oh, that's a great word. Obfuscation, make believe. Okay, that comes from these hearings. I'm just saying. Now, Mars is going to be sitting on Mars, as I mentioned, in September, but it's going to continue through the end of 2020. And that means there's going to be anger, fighting, as part of the tone of the people. Now, the big planet that I've been looking at for a few years now is Pluto, because it takes forever to Pluto to return to its natal place in the birth chart. And this is the birth of the country. Pluto, transiting Pluto, has been on natal Pluto. And Pluto is the planet of control, of death and rebirth. It's in the ninth house of the upper courts, foreign countries, foreign travel, higher education, religion, insurance, the Supreme Court. We can expect the unexpected. World trade and universities. Now, Pluto also rules COVID. And so this was predictable. And Pluto is going to be sitting on Pluto through the end of 2023 into 2024, a little bit. And this indicates out with the old, in with the new. So that our the upper courts, our foreign neighbors, our belief systems, the Supreme Court, all of these areas may undergo a symbolic death and rebirth. And this, to astrologers, this is very clear. So we are at a tipping point, as we know. It can be a total rebirth. And particularly since Pluto is headed for the midheaven and the moon, but that's a few more years from now. What we're talking about when Pluto sits on this midheaven and moon can be a total transformation in the executive branch, in our public image. And what I would suggest that you might want to do, besides voting, of course, now this is what I do. I want a world of truth and love and respect for one another. I do not want a world of war. I certainly don't want a country of war. And so I visualize, and I suggest that if you don't do this, you might want to think about it. I know that there are so many of you out there who already do this. I know I'm preaching to the choir very often. I know who you are too. I can tell by your comments on my YouTube channel. See the world a loving place. See it the way we want it to be. Focus on being the light that you are. And that means then that wherever you go, you are lighting things up, lighting people up. A lot of people are very left-brained and they think that's crazy. I don't. I believe that there can be a group of people, doesn't have to be a large group, who are focused on love and truth and beauty and resurrecting the country to what the founding fathers wanted. It can be done. So, that's September and beyond. I hope you've enjoyed the September forecast. And I hope you'll join me next month when once again I look at the United States chart. Till then, God bless the United States of America. God bless the country that you live in. God bless planet Earth. Bye for now, my dear friends.